All right, everybody, welcome back. We're here with episode 3155 of the Cabral Concept. Today, I wanted to go over all of the frequently asked questions around food allergies, food sensitivities, and food sensitivity testing. So I have a few other case study shows on food sensitivity testing. Happy to link those up today at episode 3155. But what I'm sharing with you right now is an actual IgG food sensitivity test. I'll take you through it really quickly. But what I want to do is answer about 8 to 10 of our most frequently asked questions. And then I think this is going to give you a better sense of how to actually look at food allergies versus sensitivities versus actual testing and why some things show up and why others don't. So first things first, we have a food sensitivity test in front of you. This is going to test for 190 plus common foods. They're all typically healthy based foods that people can have a reactivity to. So when you read your own lab results, if you choose to, now again, if you work with Equalife, you're given a health coaching call if you'd like to go through them, but these are fairly straightforward. So if you have any type of reaction, so the white circle inside of the green, it's a normal immune reaction, meaning your body's going to have a slight reaction to foreign bodies put inside of it, and that would be your foods. A low reaction would show a low food sensitivity reaction. That means your immune system, your immunoglobulin G, so a white blood cell, IgG, is reacting to that food that you ate. Then a moderate reaction would be in the orange, and a larger reaction would be in the red. So if you're not watching this at home, that's okay. I will actually share with you kind of step-by-step audio-based as well. So the podcast will still work. So then it's broken down into categories. And so red is obviously the most severe reaction, orange, moderate, yellow, low reactivity, and then anything in the green, normal. So then when you look at this person, and of course it's redacted, this is a real lab, you're going to say, okay, does this person have dairy sensitivities? And you can kind of look at it from a very broad lens at first. That's what I do. I look at categories and I say, okay, this person is showing up in the yellow, orange, or red under all dairy-based foods. That means that this person is very sensitive to dairy because many people show up sensitive to cow's milk. That's the number one food sensitivity that we see in the world. However, they don't show up high to goat-based dairy or sheep-based dairy. And that is not uncommon because the protein molecules are larger. The reactivity is much greater in cow's milk than it is of these smaller based animals. So that is just one on dairy. When I look at this person's beans, peas, legumes, there's almost no reactivity, a very mild one on green pea. So all the rest are in the green. All right. Then I move down to fruit for this individual. And I look and I say, okay, basically no reactions to fruit. That's pretty normal. Most humans don't react to fruit. This person's reacting to coconut. Now, people like to categorize coconut as a fruit or as a fat or whatever it might be. It is considered a fruit as to how, essentially I guess it grows in nature. But for the most part, it's not a carbohydrate. It's a fat. Now, I will go and talk about this in a moment, but what we're looking at is your reaction to essentially the protein in that food, not carbohydrates, not specifically fat. So again, we're looking at this as the protein. So this person is sensitive to coconuts to a moderate to more severe or high degree. Okay, and we'll talk about allergies versus sensitivities in a moment because we're looking at sensitivities. Now, under grains, this person doesn't really seem to be sensitive to any grains except a category of wheat. So nothing with amaranth or buckwheat or corn or oats or millet or quinoa, but they're sensitive, mildly sensitive to rye, sensitive to gliadin, which is a protein in gluten, sensitive to wheat gluten, and sensitive to whole wheat. Okay, so we know that this person needs to stay away from more wheat and gluten-based foods. And we'll talk about the difference between celiac and a wheat sensitivity in just a moment. Next up, we look at the whole category of fish. You can see that there's obviously a lot. And this person has no sensitivity to any fish, and only the jack mackerel is just slightly on the higher end of normal, so it's still totally fine. What about meat and fowl? So turkey, chicken, etc. under fowl. This person isn't sensitive to any meat or any chicken, turkey, etc., except egg whites. They are sensitive to egg whites at a more high, severe, and mild to yolks. We see that it's very common. Number two, food sensitivity from an IgG perspective, are eggs, specifically egg whites. Oftentimes, the yolks are not an issue. And that is because there are more allergens in egg whites than yolks themselves, even though both have about 3 grams or so of protein. Just the profile is different. Okay, now nuts and seeds. Does this person have any sensitive to nuts and seeds? Yes, actually quite a few. Almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, peanuts, not a peanut allergy. Remember, peanut sensitivity. We'll talk about the difference. Pistachios, sesame seeds, walnuts, borderline for pumpkin. Okay, so we see a definite sensitivity now with nuts and seeds and the specific ones we just named. What about vegetables? Any vegetables? And the only vegetable we see is garlic. And again, I would consider that more of an herb spice, but certainly it is a vegetable if you'd like to consider it that. So this person has a moderate sensitivity to garlic, not completely uncommon. We oftentimes see an allium intolerance or a garlic or onion-based intolerance sometimes. Okay, herbs and spices. This person has, which we don't typically see, a few herbs and spice sensitivities. Cumin, which is in curries and different spices like that. Ginger. These are mild, but still they're there. Miso is on the higher end. We see that quite often with fermented soy. And we see mustard seed is mild. So a couple random ones. Everybody has a couple random ones sometimes, not usually with herbs, but this person does. And then nothing under miscellaneous for coffee or tea or honey, etc. All right. And then a low, on the higher side of low, reaction to Candida albicans. So we would probably want this person to run what's called the Candida metabolic and vitamins test or begin the CBO protocol, because with this many sensitivities, so this is quite a bit, and high Candida albicans, most likely, again, there's no diagnosis, we would say that this person is at least looking like someone who may have leaky gut and a yeast and or bacterial overgrowth in the gut. Again, not from a disease diagnosis, but certainly with this many sensitivities, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That's a lot. They have 27. So we're going to get into your frequently asked questions, which is how many is normal. But when I look at this also, it's not all across the board. It is this person has a lot because they are sensitive to dairy, which is about 8 different ones. They're sensitive to 4 of the different wheat and gluten. And they're sensitive to the egg and egg whites. And then they're sensitive to like 6 different nuts and seeds. So yes, there are absolutely, 27 or so sensitivities, but they're within specific categories. So regular grains, besides wheat grains, don't seem to be an issue. All fruits and veggies really don't seem to be an issue with a few outliers. No real fish, no meat, no, let's see what else, chicken, and just the eggs. So like for the most part, when you say, 27, it's a lot, but not really, because for the most part, they can eat whatever they want, except right now, dairy-based products, some nuts and seeds, take out the gluten and wheat, take out the, what was the other big one? The eggs and egg whites. Okay. So still eat all the fish you want, meat, chicken, whatever it might be. And again, I'm saying obviously for you, but when we look at it, we make it much simpler. So we give you a reactivity summary right there. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And then we start to talk about some different things that you can do, like test for Candida overgrowth, begin the CBO protocol, and then a retest if you want in the future. So, really simple. What do we want to do? Let's answer some questions, though, that we often get. Are these food allergies or are these food sensitivities? Well, we want to understand is that a food sensitivity is different than a food allergy. A food allergy is IgE mediated. So we are looking at an immediate response that could cause anaphylaxis. So that means a swelling, a closing up of the airway, which is why it's so dangerous, because it can be life-threatening. We are not looking at immediate reactions or life-threatening foods. We're looking at sensitivities that have an immune reaction from a delayed response. So IgE is more of an allergy. IgM, which not a lot of people test for, some people do, is more of an intermediate response, around 24 hours or so. And then a delayed response, which is IgG, that's what we test for, is 24 to 72 hours later. And these are foods that cause inflammation in your body because the IgG, which is a white blood cell, attacks these specific proteins in these foods, causing inflammation in your gut potentially, and certainly systemically, which then leads to symptoms of whatever you are susceptible to. Could be autoimmune, could be joint pain, could be migraines, could be just headaches in general, could be skin rashes, could be brain fog, could be stiffness, again, overall pain, could be brain fog, if I didn't mention that already. That's a big one. And could be overall lowered mood, right? So those are inflammatory based and absolutely can have food as their basis from an IgG reaction. So why doesn't conventional medicine use IgG? They are looking for things that they can treat with, let's call it conventional medicine means, which are pharmaceuticals. If you have a food allergy, like peanuts, like strawberries, like shellfish, conventional medicine can prescribe you an EpiPen, right? So that is something that can be life-saving if someone is sensitive and gets exposed to peanuts or say strawberries, shellfish, et cetera, right? So that is something they can do. A sensitivity, remember, conventional medicine is not set up to provide coaching or health advice in any way. They provide sick care. And I don't mean that necessarily in a derogatory form. We need acute-based care. I understand that and I agree with it. But let's not look to conventional medicine to help our chronic-based issues, because they're just going to give you the immunosuppressant for autoimmune issues, right? They're going to give you the migraine medications, the high blood pressure medications, the skin rash-based medications, right? They're going to give you all the pharmaceuticals to mask those symptoms, basically playing peekaboo. When you're on them, the symptoms go away. When you come off them, they come right back, right? That's not a solution. Okay, so what an IgG test does, like this one, is a finger prick. Your blood is then put into 190 plus different vials with that food and see if it reacts. That's basically it. That's how it works at its simplest base level. And the more reactive it is, the more reactive your white blood, so your IgG literally is to that food. That's what we're testing, right? So the next thing comes up is like, well, wouldn't I just show up for all the foods that I'm eating? That's always the rebuttal without people, again, like I understand that everybody's here to just share their opinion, and that's great. It's no problem at all. And so I like to keep an open mind. So the reason why this is so effective is that, no, it's not going to just show the foods that you eat, right? Or you eat the most. This individual, who is a personal client of mine, is eating chicken or fish every single day, right? So they should show up high on salmon. They should show up high on actually turkey and chicken, and they're not. They're also eating some of those nuts and seeds. Some they're eating and some they're not. Why are some showing up and not others? They're eating all of those veggies, basically. Why aren't those showing up? They're eating blueberries and different types of fruit, and those aren't showing up. So the answer is no. You do not show up for foods that you eat the most. That's not how this works. You show up on high what your immunoglobulin G cells are attacking, that they're going after. So that's what you show up high on. And I'm going to share with you a big way to look at this. This person has around 27 food sensitivities. We would do, so the thing is, what you don't know is that I've already run the Candida metabolic and vitamins test with this person as part of the Big Five. And I know that they have Candida overgrowth, and I know that they have Clostridia bacteria overgrowth. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm doing the CBO protocol plus the citracidal drops, that's 12 weeks. After that, I'm doing the CBO finisher, which is the healthy gut support, along with the probiotic to heal and seal the gut. Then, after I'm done with that, I will rerun this test. And I can't make any guarantees in life, but more than 9 out of 10 times, this person is then going to show up with a normal amount of food sensitivities for any individual, which would be like 2 to 5, 2 to 6, just random things, like whatever they're sensitive to. Let me give you mine. Every single time I run a food sensitivity test, I'm sensitive to kidney beans, I'm sensitive to almonds, and like 1 or 2 other things maybe. That's it. But since I started running this at 19 years old, I've always been sensitive to kidney beans and almonds. Yes, I ate almonds, but not a lot as a teenager. And I never ate kidney beans because I greatly disliked them. So why would those show up, especially if I'm not eating them? Because it's not saying I'm going to look at kidney beans. It says I'm looking at the amino acid sequence of kidney beans. And those amino acids is what it's reacting to, right? So you can be reactive to something without eating it. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can look up these different terms, which is molecular mimicry. Or why does someone who has a thyroid-based imbalance often react to things like gluten, casein, chocolate, coffee? They can look at amino acid-based sequences that are shared by those that can often be an aggravator to the immune system, especially those with low thyroid or Hashimoto's. So it's important to understand that you're not looking at the kidney bean itself or whatever the food is. You're looking at the leucine, valine, and proline, all the glycine, all the different amino acids in it and how they are sequenced. It's very important. It's a very important distinction that a lot of people miss. Okay, so person with 27 food sensitivities, we're going to heal the gut, rebalance the gut, reseal the gut, retest this. They're going to go way down. Even sometimes they're able to have eggs again. That's not a sensitivity anymore. And remember, whatever's in the red, we remove for 6 months. Whatever's in the orange, we remove for 12 weeks. Whatever's in the yellow, we remove for 6 weeks. And then, after their immune system has had time to no longer see that introduced in their body, we then begin to bring it back into the diet once a week. And then if they want to, we bring it back in twice a week to see how they do with it. And then, of course, we want to make sure that they're not sensitive to it anymore. And then we can always retest in the future if we want. Typically, we recommend running the Big 5 once a year just to check. So it works really well. Again, we've been doing this now for well over a decade, tens of thousands of these labs run. And like I said, it works exceptionally well. Okay, so another frequently asked question is this. What if I have celiac or a gluten sensitivity and they're not showing up on an IgG test? This is really important. So if you have an IgE reaction or an IgA reaction, which we haven't talked about, those are more immediate and they are different white blood cells. So again, I don't know the best way to think about this, but like football team. So I love watching American football. You've got a quarterback. Well, who protects the quarterback? You've got the linemen. Well, on the offense, you also have the tight ends. You've got the wide receivers. You've got a running back. Sometimes you have a fullback. They all have different roles, right? They're on the same team, but they have different roles. Okay, well, think of it. The IgG, separate player, same team. IgE, IgM, IgA, different players, all on the immune system team. They do different things, okay? The lineman and even the center's there to hike the ball. Quarterback is going to throw the ball, hand off the ball, run the ball, whatever it might be. Just different players, same team. So they don't all react the same. So what I'm saying is this, is that if you have celiac, well, if you know you do, then of course you're going to eliminate wheat and gluten, okay? But here's a big one as well. You always, when we test for thyroid, we don't run a saliva test or a urine test. We want to run a blood spot test, right? So like you always want to look at things the right way. So if you suspect a celiac disease imbalance, you want to run something called the tissue transglutaminase antibody test. It is called the TGG-IGA, tissue transglutaminase antibody test, and it looks at IgA reaction. That's important. Now, if someone happens to have low IgA antibodies, which many people do, myself, unfortunately, and my mom as well, that's genetically where I got it from, we don't have a great first-line defense. Not ideal. That test doesn't necessarily work for us. What do we need to do? It's a backup test called the TG, the tissue transglutaminase antibody IgG, or the DGP IgG test. Now again, unless you suspect celiac, you don't need to worry about that test, but it's usually always IgA driven. Okay, it's different. IgA driven and looking at antibodies. So very important to look at that. All right. So another one is this, is that I eat foods that cause bloating and gas, yet they're not showing up on this food sensitivity test. Why is that? Here's the reason. Digestion is different than immune reactivity. So if you eat foods and you're lacking the enzyme, or your body's not processing it well, or you have sluggish movement through the stomach of foods, low hydrochloric acid production, you have maybe even candida overgrowth or bacterial overgrowth, this test is not looking at that. So if you get bloated and gas, could be, well, you might have H. pylori, you might have parasites, you might have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, you might have candida overgrowth, you might lack specific enzymes, you might not be food combining very well. So there's all sorts of different reasons. That's digestive based. That is not immune reactivity based. So if you eat foods and they cause you bloating or stomach cramping, you don't want to eat those foods for right now. You want to fix, obviously, your gut, your digestion. But this test is not going to show that. This test looks at a immunoglobulin G, which is the only way to look at a delayed inflammatory response. That's why it's the best lab test out there, because if you eat a food and you react to it, you can mark down that food like, this is not a food that I do well with. However, if you are eating foods, let's say today is a Wednesday, and you ate foods on Sunday or Monday, it's hard to think back to those days on a Wednesday 2-3 days ago as to what you ate, what you could be reacting to today. That's an IgG response. That's why it's so effective and why we've used it in our practice for over a decade. Now remember, we can use any lab we want in the world. We're very picky about what labs we use. All right, so that is that. Let's see. If I eliminate the foods, does the sensitivity decrease? I did answer this. Yes, it typically does. Now, some foods for me, I don't eat almonds anymore. I don't eat kidney beans. They still show up. But what improved for me? So I was the person with over 30 food sensitivities. Now, 2 to 5, 3 to 5, that's typically what shows up, maximum. So oftentimes, like way back in the day, I was sensitive to chicken. So that would show up. Not sensitive to chicken anymore, and I still eat chicken a couple times a week. So yes, they typically decrease once though, not just with the elimination, with the healing of the gut. That's why run the Candida metabolic and vitamins test if you don't want to just maybe jump into the CBO protocol and the CBO finisher. All right. 2 more questions. Are many food sensitivities the result of leaky gut or chronic immune issues? Yes. So if you have a lot of food sensitivities, it can be from leaky gut or increased intestinal permeability, because more is spilling into what's called the gut-associated lymphoid tissue and more into the bloodstream where your immune cells, IgG, can pick them up. So yes, it is often associated with that, but not always, and this is not a medical diagnosis. The only way you really know that, the only way you truly know it is an intestinal biopsy, and I just don't believe anybody should really do that. They should simply complete the CBO protocol followed by the CBO finisher. That's really the best way. Okay, what if you show almost no reaction to any food? Well, if they're all in the green and you only have 1 or 2 sensitivities, then that's great. Like really no big sensitivities. However, some people with autoimmune issues, after chronic stress and chronic autoimmune issues, will see all of their white circles, which is like their measurement, all the way against the left side. Almost no normal reaction as well. Now, again, not a diagnosis, but sometimes that's from autoimmune issues. So we need to fix the gut, fix the stress, fix the toxins, whatever they're, heavy metals, pathogens, virus, etc. And then we start to see a normal immune reaction. All right? The last one is this. How can I heal my gut? I've actually alluded to this a few times. You need to get rid of the parasites. So if you have parasites, you can run the bacteria and parasite stool test to see. If not, complete the parasupport protocol. Then complete the CBO protocol. If you have a lot of digestive issues, you might add the citracetyl drops to that. They're right at the EcoLife store. And then after that, the CBO finisher is how you heal and seal the gut. It contains L-glutamine, N-acetylglucosamine, marshmallow. It contains zinc carnosine, all the things that are proven. I mean, again, these are all science-based. All the studies are on the website. So everything we use in our practice is at stevencabral.com/shop. That takes you over to EcoLife, and you can even just compare products. If you want to use something and work with your practitioner, amazing. I just want to share with you exactly what we do, what we know works. We have thousands of practitioners that use the EcoLife CBO protocol and other protocols because they work. And I personally work with probably half of my clients are other practitioners, my private clients. We know what we do works. We guarantee that it works. And so we just want you to get those results. That's why I do what I do. So hopefully this was helpful. This is answering all of the frequently asked questions we get on a food sensitivity test. And of course, we'll link up the food sensitivity test at stevencabral.com/3155. Share the show with anyone you felt it was helpful. I can't link up any of the products we use. That's against FDA regulation, but I can link up the lab. So the lab is at stevencabral.com/3155. I can't recommend enough running it. You'll get all of the results. You'll get the plan. You can get a coaching support call should you need it. And like I said, we're here to support you. So take care, everybody. Have an amazing rest of the day. I'll talk with you tomorrow on the Cabral Concept. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.